I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Wow! Hello! Welcome to the Red Table Talk After Show. I am Tyler Simone, and I couldn't do this without my lovely panel co-hosts. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's up? It's your man, the Tyler Tyson.
It's your boy, Jane Ming, in the building.
Yes, in the building for sure. And we are the Red Table Talk After Show. Today is a great day because we have a special episode.
Oh, yes.
A special Red Table Talk.
Yes.
We do.
Yes, the one and only Snoop D-O-double-G was at the Red Table Talk, or the Red Table today. And
He crip walk his way in.
He surely did, right there on the carpet.
He did.
It was cute.
It was pretty cute.
Do you know how to crip walk?
No.
Do you know how to crip walk?
I don't.
I do it.
I can't even heel toe.
You
Remember back in the day, the heel toe?
Well, I could
The
kind
I
of.
can't even do the heel toe.
Oh, maybe I do a heel toe then.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
It might be the heel toe. Close enough. Close enough. Thank you for joining us. We're so happy to have you. Let's just jump right into it. So, Snoop Dogg was at the Red Table this week, and obviously they had to talk about the whole Gayle King controversy.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, what did you guys feel about the episode? Did you like it? Entertaining? Not so entertaining?
I think the conversation was needed, as I feel like all the conversations that Jada has had or at the Red Table. So I enjoyed the conversation. I like seeing a more intimate Snoop, more vulnerable. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and then just hearing a little bit about how he was raised too. I enjoyed that. So I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, it was a really, really good episode. I love Snoop. His energy is always dope. I feel like I'm always chill, but he's always like on a whole other level of chill. And this, I think, needed to be talked about in this way, using this type of platform. And I think Jada's Red Table is the perfect place to come and talk about something serious.
You too can be as chill as Snoop if you walk across the street to that dispensary.
Right?
And bring it
over
on
yonder.
back, you'll be just as chill.
Bring it on back and share it with the
Share it with us.
girls.
Who said I needed to go across the street?
Oh,
That part.
Yeah, that part.
because never mind.
Well, obviously we had to talk about the controversy with Gayle King, but I liked how this kind of opened up the conversation about disrespect between men and women, but most importantly, black men and women. So that was interesting. I don't want to talk too much about Kobe and that whole situation, because they did touch on it a little bit, because that's literally why we're all here, is the Gayle King interview where she mentioned Kobe. People weren't happy about it. I wanted to know how you guys feel about media and when journalists cover touchy topics like this. Like, how do you go about covering something where, you know, people could be upset? Someone passed away. So how do you go about doing that?
I think there's an appropriate way to bring up someone's past, an appropriate time to bring up somebody's past when they leave this earth.
Yeah.
I think that Gayle King is a skilled journalist. She's very high class. She's not no B-list journalist. She's an A-list journalist. She's attached to Oprah Winfrey, for God's sake. But I think that it was very distasteful of her to bring that up at such a sensitive time. Kobe wasn't even in the ground yet, and she brought that up. I think she's not a new journalist. She ain't on the Shade Room. You know what I'm saying? She's not trying to make it. She's already made it. So even if the network forced her to make that comment, she could have transitioned it in a different way.
Yeah.
I think it was very inappropriate. And I think that any good journalist, I think you know when to ask a question and when not to. And I think it was very inappropriate of her to ask it at that particular point in time.
Yeah, so the thing that like you said, I appreciate the fact that Jada even said off the top, I'm not here to discuss who's right or who's wrong in this situation, but I have a degree in broadcast journalism. I had to sit through these media ethic classes. I had to take communications law, and you're absolutely right. There's a certain way that you address certain questions. Kobe was not in the ground. And then she even, as part of her defense, Gayle, she said that, we did that interview a long time ago. Well, that just makes it that much worse because it was that much closer to when he actually met his untimely demise. And like you said, she made a lapse in judgment. And the way that you address a question like that, because I think what got us all is that when Lisa was defending Kobe, and then Gayle immediately was cutting her off and rebutting, like, well, this happened. Well, he wasn't found innocent. He, the charges were just dropped. And it's like, well, that's not how you do this. The way that you do this is you say, well, how do you address what some would say is a reputation that may precede him, or this, and this, and then you let her give the answer, and then you move on. The way that she, it really came across like she attacked her, and I think that is what really got under people's skin, and that's not the editing. Like, we all work for a media company, we all know how, we all edit, we all know how this works. They can't edit something that's not there.
Right.
And so because of the way that you handled this one little issue, this one little thing, it was just not the appropriate way. And then, like you said, she's attached to Oprah. And as much as I love Oprah, as much as I, as a journalist and everything, idolize Oprah in so many ways, Oprah hasn't always gotten it right.
No.
And the way that
Correct.
the way the public has responded to the way that she handled the Michael Jackson thing, we never got to express how disappointed we were with Oprah doing that. So unfortunately, Gayle got some of Oprah's backlash also, because that's as close as we can get to Oprah. Yeah. So it was just...
And her apology was distasteful.
It was.
Yeah.
Because for you to shift blame,
instead of just owning it, like, you know what, I shouldn't have done it that way. I should have said this.
And she could have simply just said, I apologize. I'm sorry I did that. Can we move forward?
And just move forward.
And another thing that kind of stung a little bit was that she said that Kobe and I were cool. Kobe and I were friends, or she didn't say friends, but we were cool. And my whole thought was, when Michael was alive, Oprah never, well, she addressed it, but she addressed it and moved on. The moment he died, now here's this big thing, and now we're going to talk about it. It's almost like talking behind your back. And it's like, these people can't even come back and defend themselves. If you and Kobe were cool, even if y'all weren't cool, you're Gayle King. You have access to Kobe Bryant. If this was an issue that was still on your mind, and you felt like the public still really, really wanted to get some answers from Kobe, sit down with them.
Yes.
Or write a story for whatever the morning show is that she's on, and say, well, Kobe declined to give a response. But to do it the moment he leaves this earth, that puts a bad taste in your mouth, because it really does look like, oh, I'm trying to get him now that he's gone.
And she was very unemotional.
Yeah.
There was no emotion attached to that interview.
And if you're interviewing Lisa Leslie, why are we talking about someone totally different? I almost felt like there was no need to even bring that up, really.
Right.
I mean, sure, basketball, it's the common...
And they're like good friends or whatever.
Yeah, but still, it just was kind of left.
Yeah.
At least I felt that way. I was thinking, too, as journalists, we have to... You mentioned it, there's ethics and things that we have to... Rules that we should follow to be good journalists, but we have to take ourselves out of situations and not get so wrapped up in how we feel about it. And we're just supposed to be reporting on what
It's
happened.
not about you.
It's not about you.
Yep.
And someone, I don't remember who it was, random video on social media, but she had a really good point that women, female journalists who cover stories such as this, sometimes can get caught up in that because maybe they were assaulted or they were raped at one point in time. So now they're coming from a place of hurt. And instead of listening to who they're interviewing, it is an attack because I'm personally affected by what this person may or may not have done. So it can get really touchy as a journalist, I think.
But I feel like she has enough power to not touch on that topic at all.
Yeah, she shouldn't.
She could have completely bypassed that conversation. The network still would have posted that interview.
Yeah.
And she could have completely bypassed the conversation, say, out of respect for him, I won't mention that.
Yeah.
They're not going to fire you, Gayle King.
They're
Right,
not.
they're
And you
not.
just signed this, like, you just negotiated your contract.
Yeah.
You just got settled in this situation. You're not, and you had that whole big moment with R. Kelly where people were actually kind of praising you because R. Kelly was doing all of his antics and you kept it cool, calm, and collected. Yeah. So you were like on a little bit of a high. And then you do this and it's like, oh, dang it, man.
But I think that thinking about that, going from that interview to the interview with Lisa Leslie, she seems very detached.
From the one with Lisa Leslie, you're saying?
Both of them. No,
Okay,
R. Kelly.
both of
Oh, yeah, she was not attached to that at all.
Well, R. Kelly, he's going off on her and she's just sitting there. Lisa Leslie, she's firing questions, going back and forth with Lisa Leslie, but in a very straight face. Yeah. There was like no emotion.
Whereas
attached to
Oprah
it.
at least gave you some emotion.
Yeah.
She at least made you but this is the one thing that I have learned from. I haven't mastered this, but she learned how to make everybody comfortable, make the whole situation relax, get you to the point that you're so. She got Whitney Houston to admit that Bobby Brown spit in her face after Whitney kept saying he never hit me, he never, just because it's Oprah. She melted all of that away, and before the interview was over, he pushed her down the stairs. He spat on her. All of those things. But that's the gift of Oprah.
Yeah.
You know, Gayle just don't got that gift.
Sorry, Gayle, I guess.
She has other gifts, but it's not that.
She has a lot of gifts. Let's talk about
What's the gift?
Snoop. Stop it.
Oh, I just wanted to know. No, I like Gayle.
I like Gayle too.
Very disappointed at her.
It was just a bad choice.
It's a bad choice.
Absolutely. She didn't have to do that.
Let's talk about Snoop's reaction to that, to the interview, because he was saying he let his emotions get the best of him, and obviously he ends up apologizing. But I can see why he would be so upset that something like that would be brought up so soon, because like he said, we had just lost Nip. We lost Kobe. Everybody's very sensitive right now. And if you knew them personally, we don't even know them personally.
And we were all
it
hurt.
hurt.
And we were hurt. That was two tough days.
So he went off. He went off.
When Snoop first started, in my mind, I'm like, yes, like everything he's saying, facts. But then he did that one, and he started calling her like all these names, and I'm like, no, you can't, because now all the good that you did by bringing this to the forefront, by pointing out the fact that black men are the forever target, regardless white men, gay men, black women, white women, Australian. I mean, black men are always the target. We are at the very bottom. People argue that black women are at the bottom of the totem pole. A lot of times you aren't. It's us. And so
and I definitely want to talk about that today.
This is another example of how even some of our own were at the bottom of the totem pole. And it was like Snoop was bringing that in his own way to the forefront, but then he lost everybody when he started cussing her. It just totally deflated his argument, because now the conversation has shifted to, wow, you're right, Gayle did this. Oh, wow, you're right. There is a history between she and Oprah and da-da-da-da-da, to look how Snoop is disrespecting this black woman.
Yeah.
And because he's of a particular age, because he just came off of a high of having the #1 gospel album, which is phenomenal. If you haven't heard Bible of Love, go check that out. It just kind of totally wiped all of that away.
I definitely feel like what he said, the words he used were inappropriate. However, if a close friend of mine that I considered a brother or somebody that looked up to me and I looked up to them passed away, and immediately after they passed away and they're not on the ground, and somebody got on national television and spoke in such a derogatory way about them when they've spent the past 17, 18 years building themselves up, building others up, building up communities, I would be just as irate and upset. And I would not know what vocabulary to use to express that.
That emotion was 100% authentic.
His emotion was on 10.
Yeah.
So the conversation that he probably normally would have between him and his wife, that he would be talking about Gayle, he would call us those type of names, you know, he had with us, because we were all as emotionally invested in the situation and emotionally hurt.
And also, let's not forget that in this country especially, like the whole reason this whole gun thing is a thing now is because when the slaves were freed back in the 1800s, well, you know, freed on paper, that's when people started clinging to their guns, because they have to protect their white women from these black male savages that are out here. And that is the same reason why it still goes on. And look how many times black men have been falsely accused. Emmett Till, how many times they've been falsely accused of doing something they did not do. They lose their life only decades later for these women to come out and be like, oh, well, it wasn't true. Okay, you lied, but he's gone. And so this was one of those instances. Kobe was not a Harvey Weinstein. He wasn't a Bill Cosby. He wasn't the guy, Stephen Collins on Seventh Heaven, who I'm still going, until there's justice on that situation, I'm going to be the only person talking about it. But Stephen Collins had an issue with a minor child. Nobody's talking about that. But we're going to talk about this one little instance with Kobe. Like I said, one that was in their own way. They addressed it head on. They dealt with it the way they needed to deal with it. Nothing like that has ever come. And it was decades ago. There's not a history of it going on and on and on. It was that one time that he acknowledged, apologized for, made amends with the woman. She's not saying a word, but yet here we are talking about that, but we're not talking about Harvey and all of, and at that time Harvey hadn't been convicted yet. So,
and I think that's what's frustrating for black men especially is when they start to do well and they've made something of themselves, someone is so quick to jump on the bad, to negate all of the good that they've done.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's what was the intent behind all this, but that's how black men feel. So it's hurtful.
What would be the intent of bringing up something that could have tarnished his legacy?
Yeah.
But it didn't. He bypassed it. He overcame it. And he made something great out of his name. What was the point of her even backtracking?
Yeah.
When he's done so much to prove that he was a phenomenal black man. What was the point of her bringing it up?
There was none.
I think it was a personal situation.
I think you
on her
said
behalf.
it at the beginning. What you said, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but that is, they did, once again, going back to these media ethics, let me not say they. She did the very thing that as a journalist you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
The story is not about you. If you want to tell your story, then you do a documentary, you do a biopic, you do things that are personal. But when you're in the role of journalist, there's no attachment to this story. I am just reporting the story. That's it. But by you inserting yourself, you have now tainted this story. There's now bias on this story. This story is no longer told by an impartial journalist.
And celebrities are already very sensitive when it comes to media and press already because they feel like we're out to get them.
Well,
a lot of the
you know
time.
what they say?
So,
you're only as good as what was last published about you.
yeah. Because it's so public and that people believe this stuff. You know, whether it's true or not, people just take our word for it, our meaning the media. So, gosh, I kind of wanted to talk about him saying that black people who are in the media don't protect their own. So once we make it to a Gayle King level, you're not really for the people, you're for the network. So I don't know if she ever struggles with trying to protect the community, but also trying to break news, I guess.
I think Gayle is in a tricky situation a little bit because she's on a network. Well, maybe she's not, because this is something else that was part of my thing. Gayle coming after Kobe and her having this backlash, most of the backlash is on social media. The demographic for the CBS Morning News is not the people that are mad at Gayle King.
Yeah.
They don't have a young demographic like that. No, we don't watch CBS. They don't have a young demographic. They definitely don't have a black demographic. So the people that are in an uproar, Gayle's not feeling any of that, really. Yeah, she might see some hurtful things on social media. Yeah, she's canceled from the, being
She's
invited to the picnic and all of that.
VH1.
But as far as her job, the one that gives her young O Magazine and Oprah and CBS, she's good.
Yeah.
Same with Oprah. The young people aren't watching OWN. The blacks, young blacks, they aren't watching OWN. So she can tarnish people. I'm not saying that that's what they're doing maliciously, but y'all get me. Y'all feel me. They can do certain things and say outlandish things to try to build a name for, because CBS Morning News is, of all the three, the lowest on the rating. So yes, she's interviewing R. Kelly. She's doing stuff to try to send people over here to watch this since nobody's watching.
It's not a popular. She works for the Today Show. Today Show is popular amongst a different demographic. She's on Today.
I thought Today was on NBC.
No, I thought she was on Today.
She's on whatever the
What's
CBS.
the one with the
I think it's GMA.
No, she ain't on GMA.
She ain't on
honey.
GMA.
I watch GMA every morning. You got
okay.
Michael
My bad.
Graham.
She is not on
It's
GMA.
got Robin
CBS,
Roberts.
whatever the
See,
CBS Morning News
Google, I
is
think
called.
it's Today.
See, we don't
So we don't
watch
watch
it.
it?
We don't watch it. We don't watch it that often.
But let me make my point was that I do completely agree with you. It's sad that you're on this platform and you know that there's not a lot of us on that platform, and you would rather. Is it Today?
CBS this morning.
This one. Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
God, I knew it was more.
Today is NBC. That's with Al
okay.
Roker and all of them.
Oh, okay.
We kind of
that
watch
was
that.
with Al.
We watch
She
that
with
from
Al?
time to time. No.
Oh, okay.
She's on the other one
She
that
ain't on
nobody
GMA
watches.
because you got Robin,
That's
you got
what
George, you got
Michael.
I love it.
Yeah.
Watch them every morning.
I love GMA.
Yeah. So, but I feel like if you're on that type of platform as a black person, I definitely feel like it's your responsibility to defend us
You
and
have to
take care
carry
of
it.
us.
You have to
Definitely.
carry
It's
it.
And
part of the
I
job.
feel like she did not do that. And I feel like she, not to call her a sellout, but I do agree with what Snoop saying. Once you get to a certain level, it's like, y'all don't matter. I'm here. I'm the only representation that needs to look good here. it was her responsibility in that moment as a black person
Woman,
to protect us.
yeah. And she did
And
not.
she did not.
Yeah.
You turned your back and put a knife in that man's back.
And
what?
if that's the case and something like that happens, there's always room for redemption. You could always say, you know what? I dropped the ball. My bad. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done or said X, Y, and Z. And you learn from it and you move on. But to not even try to absorb any responsibility and push it off on my editors, the network made me do it, this happened, then that happened, and then we don't see or hear from you, but then we see Oprah crying on, I think she was on Today when she was crying.
About the death threats and everything.
Like, it just kind of seems like, oh, all right.
Yeah. And Jada, like she was saying, she invited Gayle King to the table, but she didn't hear anything back from her. That would have even been a good move to
Snoop
go
has heard
on
from
with.
her.
Yeah. But once again, if the Red Table Talk it's for everybody, but I think they cover a lot of black issues, so it's really for us, I would say. If it's for us, why wouldn't you come on and give us some clarification behind why you did that?
I think she's hoping that the situation just outdates itself. Evens out. And we forget. And it's still very new. We're going to be talking about Kobe for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very fresh situation. So I would love to see her come on the Red Table. Do I think she'll do it? No.
At least not
I
now.
don't think so
No.
either. I don't
If
think
anything,
she
she's going
will.
to talk to Oprah. You'll do a best friend special on her own.
They'll do a Super Soul
Yeah.
Sunday. Once
Yeah.
again, we won't be watching.
Yeah.
It'll be the demographic that agrees
That
with what she
supports her.
did.
Yeah.
Like, no healing will take place as a result of it.
So yes, Snoop was wrong. Gayle was wrong too.
Yeah, they both
They were
were.
both-
I'm sitting here making judgment. Yes, they were both wrong in the situation.
But you have to own
And
when
Snoop
you're wrong.
owned it.
Yeah,
And he owned it.
owned it
And
for
I
sure.
think that is why we're all like, all right, Snoop, we forgive you. Like, women have forgiven Snoop for the things that he has said because he's
I
owned
forgave him before he sent the apology out.
it. He wasn't calling you the B word.
No, only reason why I forgave him or didn't even like think about it as a completely bad thing was because I understood his emotion.
Right, yeah.
That's somebody that he was attached to.
Right.
So it was very personal for him. If y'all watched the memorial service, Snoop sat there and cried. And cried. He was very attached to this person. So
Yeah.
his emotion towards the situation was completely different than us that didn't know Kobe.
Right. Yeah.
So
I agree
so
with everything
different.
you just said.
it was different, yeah.
It's definitely different. And he said his whole intent behind all of this was to protect the family, which I can completely understand.
Yeah.
Like we said, the words. Let's just get into the words. Specifically, the B word. Did he say ho? I don't remember if he said ho.
All I remember was like a dog face that B word. That's all I remember.
Exactly.
I mean,
which
that's
was
enough,
pretty
but-
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they touched on that.
Can I ask y'all a question real
Yes.
If Vanessa's response had have been Snoop's response, would the conversation be different?
The conversation would have been
definitely.
different. I think it would have been more of somebody would have tried to spin this as black women. Well, she's not black. They would have
Yeah.
tried to turn it into, she's a minority, but they would have tried to turn it into like black people attacking black people and women not being able to get along and all of that. Like they would have probably come at it from that angle, but they probably would have been like, her husband and her daughter just died. So
She would be more justified, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Because I was
so.
thinking that like, if Vanessa had said it, would more people have been accepting?
I think because
I would have.
If a woman calls another woman the B word, it's not as serious or intense as it is when a man calls a woman and is serious
Seriously
about it.
Yeah.
He was like dead serious, and like he was saying, that's just the words that he's grown up using. He's used them in his music all this time, and he said he didn't even really realize that was wrong until he got older. To even use the word, now he feels a way about it, but he didn't used to. That happens as you grow into manhood, is what he was trying to say.
But I do think the whole like there were plenty of other journalists that were saying the same exact things that Gayle was saying.
Yeah.
But because like it does matter who's saying what because it came from Gayle King and she's a black woman talking about or disgracing a black man, then that makes it a bigger issue than all of the white journalists that were doing the same thing, because it's expected.
Yeah.
It's expected for them to do
Gayle's
it.
on she's black, but she's on also one of the higher platforms. So it was very disappointing to.
But like you said, she don't have to do that. You ain't on.
You ain't got to. You ain't new. You ain't on the shade room. You ain't doing that. You've made it, sis. You can retire today, and still you've made some form of history.
Yeah.
So.
And two, I think people feel like if we are disgracing or talking down on our own community, it makes them also feel like they can do the same.
Yeah.
Which is a scary thought. So that's another point of view that people had from what I was reading.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She wore me out.
She did.
Let's talk about just the ability for men to express themselves, because Snoop was saying that as a man, you're supposed to be strong, but when is it time for him to be upset and to be vulnerable? Because he's from the streets, so I'm sure he's lost God knows how many people, and this was just another one on that list. Yeah. So, like, you know, to keep all of it in, maybe he shouldn't have went on Instagram and did it.
I agree. Like I told you, I feel like it should have been a conversation between him and his wife. You and your spouse should be able to have those vulnerable conversations, and you say what the hell you want to say, they say what the hell they want to say, and you listen to each other, and that's it. So maybe it should have stayed between them, and they had that intimate conversation. I do find it that in our black community, it's almost inappropriate for a black man to express himself in a certain type of way, especially be vulnerable and be sensitive. I feel like we're always, in a sense, frowned upon to be emotional, or frowned upon and looked at differently when we react to certain situations in a certain way. I know plenty of times our black women call our black men soft, call them all type of names when they have emotional and vulnerable moments. But on the flip end, when you have, as a black woman, when you have an emotional moment or you're having a bad day.
You want that same black man to be understanding and sensitive to your needs and caring and all of those things that you were just degrading him about a few minutes ago.
Yeah. And it's not reciprocated. I completely, like I said, disagree with the words that Snoop used to talk about Gayle. But I understood his frustration in that. But I do feel like there needs to be a conversation of how black women talk to black men, because I feel like it's very inappropriate, some of the lingo and the words that black women use to talk to black men when they are vulnerable, they are upset. I have plenty of girlfriends that talk about, I don't want no soft ass, blah, blah, blah type of man. You know, if I'm having a bad day, I want to be the woman. And that's not fair. Because a man has had a bad day and he's vulnerable, why is he considered feminine or upset? But it's okay when you have a bad day. He's supposed to be there for you. But vice versa, it's like...
And then it's also celebrated when women brag on the fact that they took on the man role.
Oh my God!
I'm the mother and the father, but we're going to celebrate that. But then when the father... Because I was raised by a single dad, so I think I know my views on everything is completely skewed. And I used to tease my dad and be like, oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, you're so... Because he is a Cancer, he will cry at the drop of a dime.
I was raised by a Cancer. My mom's a Cancer. I know how that is.
So, but being raised... I too... I'm a lot different from him, but I also have that sensitive side also. But that doesn't, I didn't come from a place where that was looked at as soft or anything like that.
Me either.
But one thing that I do, I guess if there's any positive to come out of all of this, I love how the fellas, the men in the NBA are crying with each other.
Yes.
They're holding each other.
Yes.
They're not afraid to show that they're like, look, this hurts. And I'm just not going to carry this because I cannot even perform and do what I need to do if I'm trying to carry this burden. So when you lose someone, you're supposed to be able to lean on your people. And what I have started doing as a result of this Kobe thing, like I love people. I'm hugging everybody. When I walk into this studio, I hug the producers, male, female, straight, gay, black, white. I love everybody. I'm no longer going to be in my head about expressing how I feel. I hate labels. Do not put me at a label. Don't put me as straight. Don't put me as gay. Don't put me as bi. Don't put me as any of this. I am Tyler.
Just you.
That's
Just you.
it. However I feel today is how I feel. If I feel like hugging you, I'm going to hug you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean anything sexual unless it does. And, it should be okay. And that's what I feel like is going on in the NBA. The men in the NBA are ignoring those same black women that are trying to thought their way, some of them, trying to thought their way to get to them. These men are like, look, times have changed.
Right.
It's okay for us to cry. It's okay for us to say, look, today's a bad day and I'm just not feeling it and I'm emotional.
And it's always been okay.
It has. And I
Yeah.
think that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that we're taught in our community that you toughen up. You make it through your day. You make it happen. Address your feelings in private.
That's so toxic.
It's very toxic. But I'm glad to see these NBA players show their emotion. Because this is a terrible situation that has happened. But I'm glad to see that the young boys that are watching them are knowing that it's okay to cry. It's okay to be hurt and it's okay to be upset. And I hope that there are not black women out there or even black fathers out there that are telling their kids, don't cry over that. Don't do that. No. Let them express that emotion.
You never
it
know.
needs
What's
to come
his
out.
name? Boots?
Boosie.
You never know what he's telling his toxic kids.
Oh, that's why he got kicked
That
out the
is a whole
gym.
nother
That's why he got kicked out the gym.
conversation.
Because I'm sure he probably, if his child, based on the comments that I've seen,
Yeah.
if his son is crying over Kobe, is he now going to punch him in the face or is he going to pistol whip him and tell him to man up? Because that's not what men do. Like,
I guess,
So
and this is the
unhealthy.
same 13-year-old child that he had strippers at his party and made his son get his penis sucked at the party.
Woo!
But we're not going to talk about that. This is a Red Table Talk.
It's a red table talk, even though I want to know more about that.
Oh, you better,
But-
girl, you better check up on the journalist.
Right.
not the journalist. There's a story for Gayle.
There's a story for Gayle.
Gayle, we give you, go after him.
Right.
Give you permission. Go get that one.
That's what you should be investigating.
Go get that one, Gayle. Leave Kobe alone.
I bet you your
Right.
ratings go up on that morning show,
Now
baby.
that is a show.
Yeah. Come on, shady producer. I love it.
Well, shoot, this was such a good episode, and we've run out of time. There's so much to discuss. Obviously, if you guys want to talk more about it, please comment down below. We're on Instagram, so follow us there. Until next time, I'm Tyler Simone. You can follow me on Instagram at Miss Tyler Simone. Where can they follow you guys?
You can get your entire life following me on all social media at the Tyler Tyson. Also, shout out real quick to the Red Table Talk. They did win an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Show, and Jada won for Outstanding TV Talk Show host. So
Yes, she
congratulations.
did. Congratulations. Well, you guys can continue the conversation with me and follow me on all social media platforms at I am Jay Lamar.
Yay! We're going to be waiting for the next episode, but you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe before you go, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, y'all.
Peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principal.